Hi all. Last class we have seen about the metabolic changes in the fed state. This class is about the changes in the fasting state. So what is a fasting state? There is no food ingestion after the absorptive period is called as a fasting state. The absorptive period or a fed state starts immediately after the intake of normal meal to 4 hours after a meal is called as a fed state or an absorptive period. The fasting state lasts between 4 hours to 12 hours if there is no food intake is called as a fasting state. From 12 hours to 16 days, if there is no food intake, it is called as the early starvation. And if there is no food consumption beyond 16 days, it's called as a late starvation. Now let's see the causes for fasting. So if there is inability to obtain food and if the patient desires to lose their weight rapidly or in certain situations in which the patient couldn't be able to eat as in case of trauma, surgery, cancer or burns. So these are the causes of fasting. So in the fasting state, there is no food intake and hence there is a decrease in the level of blood glucose, triacylglycerol and amino acids. So in the fasting state, there is increased glucagon insulin ratio or decreased insulin glucagon ratio along with the decreased availability of the substrate make the state as a catabolic period, which means there is increased glycogenolysis, that is glycogen breakdown, increased gluconeogenesis, that is glucose synthesis, and increased ketogenesis, which means there is ketone body synthesis occurs, which we will teach you later. So a fasting state is a catabolic period. There is a distribution of the substrate in the fasting state across the parenchyma like liver, adipocytes, skeletal muscle, and brain by keeping two priorities. One is that the body has to maintain the adequate blood glucose level to sustain the energy metabolism of brain, RBC, and other glucose requiring cells. Second priority is that it has to mobilize the free fatty acid from the adipose tissue and synthesis and release of ketone bodies so that these fatty acid and ketone body can be utilized as a fuel source by the other tissues in the fasting state. So this is a chart showing the calorie distribution in a 70 kg man. So you could able to see that the calorie distribution of fat as triacylglycerol is more when compared to that of the glycogen. So protein is also listed here as a metabolic fuel, and 1/3 of the protein can be utilized as a metabolic fuel without compromising the vital function. As you know, protein has a varied function. It acts as a structural component, it has an enzyme activity, and so on. So 1/3 of the protein molecule can be safely used as a metabolic fuel without compromising the vital functions. So let's see the enzyme changes in the fasting state. I have already mentioned in the fed state, the enzyme changes are availability of the substrate, allosteric regulation, covalent modification of enzymes, and fourth one is the induction and repression of the enzyme synthesis, which act primarily at the level of transcription. Here, the metabolic changes are opposite to the absorptive state. The fasting metabolic changes are generally opposite to the absorptive period. So let's see the first thing, availability of the substrate. In the fed state, the substrates are available from the food intake, right? So in the fasting state, it is not from the diet. Instead, it is from the breakdown product of the store and other tissues. So example, in case of adipocyte, triacylglycerol is stored within the cell, right? Adipocyte. So this triacylglycerol is hydrolyzed to free fatty acid and glycerol. This free fatty acid is utilized as a fuel source by the other tissues, and glycerol, which acts as a substrate for gluconeogenesis. Similarly, the muscle protein that is stored in the skeletal muscle is broken down to amino acid, and this amino acid is released into the circulation, which can be utilized as a substrate for gluconeogenesis. So second change is the covalent modification. The most common of the covalent modification is the phosphorylation and dephosphorylation of the enzymes. In the fed state, the enzymes which are dephosphorylated are active. I have said 3 exceptions, right? So glycogen phosphorylase kinase, and hormone sensitive lipase of the adipose tissue, they are inactive in the dephosphorylated state. So in the fed state, the enzymes are active in the dephosphorylated with 3 exceptions. In the case of fasting, the enzymes are active in the phosphorylated state. So the metabolic changes are generally opposite to that in the absorptive period. Next, we'll see the metabolic changes in an individual organ. First, we'll see the liver. Liver has a primary role in that it has to maintain the blood glucose level via the synthesis and distribution of the fuel molecule across the tissues. The glycogen that is stored inside the liver tissue is utilized first in the fasting state, and then gluconeogenesis occurs. This is due to the presence of glucose 6 phosphatase in the liver, which is responsible for the release of free glucose into the circulation. So this graph shows the blood glucose level after the ingestion of 100 grams of glucose. In the initial period, the rise in the blood glucose is due to the ingested glucose. After several hours, what happens? There is a decrease in the blood glucose level. This decreased blood glucose level will stimulate the release of alpha cells of islets of Langerhans to release glucagon. So this glucagon will cause glycogen breakdown or glycogenolysis. This glycogen will stimulate the enzyme phosphorylase kinase via the intracellular mediator, that is a second messenger cyclic EMP, causes phosphorylation of the glycogen phosphorylase. I have already said glycogen phosphorylase is an enzyme which are active in the phosphorylated state, right? So glycogen phosphorylase will become phosphorylated and causes glycogen breakdown. Also, it activates the enzyme protein kinase, which causes phosphorylation of glycogen synthase. Glycogen synthase, when it is phosphorylated, is inactive, and hence glycogen synthesis will not occur. So glycogen breakdown occurs in the case of fasting due to the release of glucagon, and glycogen synthesis will not occur. Also, there is increased gluconeogenesis in the liver. So gluconeogenesis is the synthesis of glucose from non-carbohydrate source. The substrates are glucogenic amino acids and glycerol from the adipose tissue and lactate from the muscle. So in the fasting state, there is a high glucagon insulin ratio. So this prevents the influx of glucose into the hepatocyte. There will be low level of, and hence there will be low level of fructose 2,6 bisphosphate. I have said already in the previous class that fructose 2,6 bisphosphate is an allosteric activator of phosphofructokinase 1, right? So glycolysis is prevented. So low level of fructose 2,6 bisphosphate will prevent the glycolysis. Also, it is an allosteric negative effector of fructose 1,6 bisphosphatase. Since fructose 2,6 bisphosphate level is low, fructose 1,6 bisphosphatase will be activated and hence gluconeogenesis occur. So high glucagon insulin ratio also activates the enzyme phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase, and hence gluconeogenesis is favored. So high glucagon insulin ratio in the fasting state will cause gluconeogenesis. So increased gluconeogenesis occurs 4 to 6 hours, between 4 to 6 hours, and it plays an essential role during the overnight and prolonged fasting. And within 10 to 18 hours, the glycogen level will be exhausted. The glycogen, all this, the stored of glycogen will be exhausted between 10 to 18 hours. So the acetyl-CoA will not act as a substrate for gluconeogenesis. During the fasting state, there will be oxidation of the fatty acids. The oxidized fatty acids will release the, upon beta oxidation, will release the acetyl-CoA. This acetyl-CoA will enter into the TCA cycle to produce energy. So the increased acetyl-CoA is an allosteric activator of pyruvate carboxylase, and hence gluconeogenesis is favored. In the case of fed state, what happens? There will be low level of acetyl-CoA because it is utilized for the synthesis of fatty acid. While in case of fasting, there will be increased acetyl-CoA from fatty acid oxidation, and this acetyl-CoA is an allosteric activator of pyruvate carboxylase. This pyruvate carboxylase, pyruvate carboxylase favors the gluconeogenesis. So these are the metabolic changes in the liver. Glycogenolysis will occur, gluconeogenesis will occur, and the ketone body synthesis formation occurs, which we will teach you later. Next, we'll see about the changes in the adipose tissue in fasting state. So as you know, the adipocyte, the entry of the glucose within the adipocyte via the GLUT4 transporter. GLUT4 is insulin sensitive, right? So in the fasting state, there will be low level of insulin, and hence glucose entry will be prevented. So the triacyl glycerol that is stored within the adipocyte is hydrolyzed to fatty acids and glycerol. This fatty acid is is released into the circulation, which can be utilized as a metabolic fuel by the other tissue, and glycerol released is used as a substrate for gluconeogenesis. Next is the changes in the skeletal muscle in the fasting state. As you all know, glucose entry into the skeletal muscle also occurs via the GLUT4 transporter, and GLUT4 is insulin sensitive. In the fasting state, insulin level will be decreased, and hence blood glucose entry is also prevented. So fatty acid is a major fuel for the skeletal muscle. The resting muscle utilizes fatty acid as a major fuel. The exercising muscle initially utilizes the glucose derived from the glycogen breakdown. Later, it utilizes the adipocyte and the ketone body from the liver, but oxidizes the less glucose, because decreased glucose utilization will reduce the gluconeogenesis, and thus it spares the protein. On prolonged fasting, fatty acid is utilized exclusively. Next is the changes in the brain tissue in the fasting. As you know, glucose entry into the brain via the GLUT1 transporter, which is insulin insensitive. Also, there is no form of storage of glycogen in the blood, right? So initially it utilizes the glucose exclusively. Later it utilizes the ketone body, and hence it spares the glucose and the muscle protein. Next is the changes in the kidney during the fasting state. There is increased in the expression of the gluconeogenic enzymes, and most of the glucose in the later state, most of the glucose that is synthesized by the kidney is utilized by its tissue itself. So there is increased expression of glucose 6-phosphatase, and hence gluconeogenesis is favored. Also, it provides a compensation for ketoacidosis. And the glutamine that is released by the catabolism of the branch chain amino acids by muscle metabolism, it's taken up by the kidney, which is catalyzed by the enzyme glutaminase, further catalyzed by glutamate dehydrogenase to form alpha-ketoglutarate. This alpha-ketoglutarate will become a substrate for gluconeogenesis with the release of ammonia molecule. This ammonia will pick up the hydrogen, and it is excreted as an ammonium ion, and thus it reduces the acid load. So these are the priority one. That is, it has to feed the glucose requiring tissues. The liver has to produce the glucose, and it is released into the circulation, which later it is utilized by the glucose requiring tissues. The priority two is to feed the non-glucose requiring tissue by the release of fatty acids and ketone bodies. The first line of defense here is it has to lower the insulin level with response to low blood glucose level, and hence the decreased glucose utilization by the peripheral tissue. The second line of defense is the increased glucagon. This favors hepatic glycogenolysis. The third line of defense is the increased production of epinephrine, which causes hepatic glycogenolysis and gluconeogenesis. These are my references.